What if I told you that the reason your testosterone collapsed after 60 has nothing to do with aging at all, and that the fastest way to restart your body's hormone engine isn't a pill, a shot, or a supplement, but a single ingredient you can mix with olive oil before bed tonight? Most men don't realize how quietly their strength slips away. One morning you wake up and your energy is gone. Your belly has grown, your confidence has dimmed, and even your desire feels like it belongs to someone you used to be. You tell yourself it's normal, that this is what getting older feels like, but deep down there's a grief no one talks about, the feeling of losing the man you were. But here's the part that stops men in their tracks. Testosterone doesn't drop because of age. It drops because your body stops receiving the chemical signals it needs to make it. And the simplest, most overlooked signal of all can be activated in just 24 hours with a nighttime ritual so small, most men laugh at it until they try it. In a moment, I'll show you exactly what to add to olive oil before bed so your body can begin producing testosterone like it did decades ago. And to guide you through it, I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, urologist and men's health specialist with more than 30 years helping men reclaim their vitality naturally. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a second to do that now and tap the bell, so you never miss another men's health breakthrough designed specifically for men over 60. And I'd love your feedback. Type 1 in the comments if this message speaks to you, or 0 if there's another topic you want me to tackle next. Now, let's get into what's really draining your testosterone. 1. The real reason testosterone drops after 60. And why it's not age. Most men don't realize it, but the moment your testosterone truly begins to collapse is not when your body turns 60. It's the moment your body stops fighting for you. And for many men, that moment arrives quietly, long before they ever notice the weight gain, the fading strength, or the emptiness they feel in the mornings. The real shock is this. Your testosterone didn't fall because your body got older. It fell because, somewhere along the way, life became heavier than your biology could carry. Stress hardened into fatigue, fatigue became habit, and habit became the slow erosion of the man you used to be. The truth hits hardest late at night, when the house is quiet and you're alone with your thoughts. You remember the version of yourself who woke up strong, who moved without thinking, who felt fire in his chest and certainty in his steps. But today, your mornings feel different. Your energy is thin. Your confidence feels muted, like a voice speaking from another room. And even though you keep telling yourself, everyone slows down with age, something inside you knows that explanation feels too small, too shallow, too easy. What most men never hear is this. Testosterone doesn't fade because birthdays pass. It fades because your body becomes overloaded by tiny, invisible forces wearing you down day after day. Inflammation builds silently in your tissues. Cortisol rises every time you don't sleep deeply enough. Your cells stop absorbing the nutrients that once fueled your drive. And without realizing it, your body begins slipping into a state of quiet survival instead of strength. It is not age that steals your power, it is chemistry slowly misfiring. That's why men who feel 50 at 70 exist. Their secret isn't luck, and it's not genetics. Their bodies simply never lost the signals required to build testosterone. Meanwhile, other men, good men, strong men, begin losing their fire in their late 40s or early 50s, even though they still feel young inside. Their decline is not written in their DNA. It's written in the small, relentless stresses life stacked inside them. The arguments that lasted years, the nights spent worrying instead of resting, the meals eaten quickly instead of thoughtfully, the quiet disappointments that never healed. Over time, these moments become chemistry, and chemistry becomes destiny, unless you intervene. And this is where the misunderstanding becomes almost tragic. Men accept their decline as natural, even inevitable, when in reality their bodies are still fully capable of producing testosterone. The machinery isn't broken. It's just been neglected, starved, and pushed into the wrong rhythm. Your body remembers how to build testosterone. It remembers how to make you feel strong. It remembers the hormones of your youth. It simply needs the right fuel and the right conditions to wake that system back up. What makes this even more emotional for many men is the realization that testosterone isn't just about energy or muscle. It's about identity. It's about the quiet confidence you carry when you walk into a room. It's about the ability to wake up with purpose instead of exhaustion. It's about the connection you feel with your partner, the motivation that pulls you out of bed, the spark that makes you feel like yourself. When testosterone drops, men don't just lose strength, they lose their sense of direction. And for too long, no one has told them why. But here is the turning point. The very mechanisms that shut down testosterone can be reversed, not with injections or complicated treatments, but by resetting the chemical signals your body relies on to build hormones. This is why a simple nighttime ritual can create results in days instead of months. When you give your body the correct signal before sleep, you shift your hormonal rhythm back toward production instead of decline. Olive oil is the foundation of that reset, but it's the ingredient you add to it that triggers the transformation. And once you understand how that ingredient communicates directly with your hormone centers, you will realize that your decline was never permanent. It was never final. It was never who you were destined to become. It was simply chemistry waiting to be corrected. And now that you know the truth, you're ready for the next step. Because once you learn how olive oil becomes the foundation of your hormonal comeback, everything else begins to fall into place. Let's look at why this simple liquid can rebuild the strength you thought you lost forever. 2. Why olive oil is the perfect testosterone foundation. Most men would never believe that one of the strongest predictors of their testosterone levels isn't their age, their genetics, or even their lifestyle. It's the type of fat they put into their body every single day. That idea alone is enough to stun most seniors because they've spent their whole lives being told to fear fat, to avoid oil, to cut everything rich or creamy in the name of heart health. But here is the revelation that almost no one shares with men over 60. The decline you feel isn't because your body has too much fat. It's because your body has the wrong kind. And the difference between those two truths is the difference between shrinking masculinity and returning strength. When men sit across from me and tell me they don't feel powerful anymore, I often think about how their hormone system was built. Testosterone isn't created out of thin air. It isn't summoned from willpower or discipline. It is constructed from a very specific raw material, monounsaturated fat, the exact type found abundantly in extra virgin olive oil. This is why men in Mediterranean cultures stay vibrant deep into their 70s and 80s. Their meals aren't lighter, their plates aren't emptier. Their bodies simply receive the building blocks that American men, for decades, were told to eliminate. Most men don't realize how deeply that misunderstanding cost them. For years, they swapped olive oil for processed vegetable oils, margarine, low-fat spreads, and laboratory-made substitutes. They starved their hormone system without knowing it. They kept eating, but their bodies were never fed. And as those artificial fats built up inside them, inflammation took root, blood vessels stiffened, and the cells responsible for producing testosterone slowly dimmed. Not because they were weak, but because the fuel they needed had been replaced by something the body couldn't use. Olive oil is different. It doesn't fight your body. It works with it. It carries within it the natural fats your endocrine system recognizes instantly, the same fats it relied on when you were 25 and overflowing with energy. And when those fats enter your bloodstream at night, they do more than nourish. They repair. They calm inflammation. They soften hardened tissues. They remind your hormone centers how to function again. They whisper the biochemical message your body forgot. It is safe to build, safe to strengthen, safe to be masculine again. But olive oil's power goes even deeper. Locked inside it are polyphenols, natural antioxidants so potent they act as shields inside the body. They protect the Leydig cells in the testes, the exact cells responsible for testosterone production. They restore blood flow to areas where circulation has quietly declined. They reduce oxidative stress, the same silent force that ages a man from the inside out. This is why men who make olive oil a nightly ritual often describe something emotional happening long before the physical changes begin. They feel calmer, more centered, more awake inside their own skin, as if something tight has finally loosened after years of strain. And there's something profoundly moving about watching older men reconnect with their strength, not through medication, not through forcing the body, but by giving it what it has been asking for all along. You can see it in their eyes when they realize their decline was never a failure. It was simply a lack of the right foundation, a structure that crumbled because the material it needed was missing. And when that foundation is restored, the rest of the system begins rebuilding itself almost naturally. Yet even olive oil, powerful as it is only the beginning. Because the true transformation happens when it is paired with the specific ingredient that unlocks its hormonal potential, an ingredient that changes everything about how your body operates during sleep. Once you learn what that ingredient is, you will understand why men are waking up feeling years younger, sometimes after a single night. And that is exactly where we are headed next. 3. The nighttime advantage. Why testosterone is built while you sleep. Most men don't realize that the most dramatic drop in their testosterone doesn't happen during the day when they feel tired, sluggish, or unfocused. It happens at night, in the hours when their body should be rebuilding them, not breaking them down. And here's the part that shocks almost every man I speak with. Your testosterone isn't highest when you're awake and active. It's highest when you're unconscious, deep in the quietest stages of sleep. That means the very moment most older men lose control of their hormones is the moment they stop sleeping like they once did. Not because they want to, but because aging, stress, and chemistry quietly shift their nights long before they notice their days changing. Think back to a time when you slept without effort, when your body rested with a heaviness that felt safe and natural. In those years, your hormone engine worked flawlessly. Every deep sleep cycle was a rebuilding phase, and you woke up with strength that felt automatic. But over time, sleep stopped being a sanctuary. It became shallow, fragmented, brief. You fell asleep wondering why you were so tired, and you woke up feeling no better than when you closed your eyes. The tragedy is that men blame themselves, thinking they're weak, out of shape, or simply too old, when the truth is something far more human and far more fixable. Their nights stopped giving them the chemistry they needed to be men during the day. What makes this painful is how silent the decline is. You don't feel testosterone slipping away in the moment. You feel it in the mornings when your body doesn't respond like it used to. You feel it in the afternoons when your energy fades without warning. You feel it in the evenings when desire loses its spark. All of it traced back to the loss of one thing: deep, restorative sleep. The kind of sleep a man over 60 rarely gets without understanding how his internal systems changed. Cortisol rises, melatonin falls, blood sugar spikes, inflammation climbs, circulation slows. Each of these forces chips away at the quality of your rest, and once your rest is compromised, your testosterone production collapses. But here is the revelation that gives so many men hope. Your body never stopped wanting to produce testosterone. It simply couldn't reach the stages of sleep where testosterone is built. Your hormonal engine wasn't broken. It was never fully turned on at night. This is where the nighttime ritual with olive oil becomes so powerful. When you introduce the right ingredient before bed, you are not just nourishing your body. You are reshaping your internal environment during the hours when testosterone is naturally supposed to surge. You stabilize insulin so your hormones stay balanced. You lower inflammation so your body slips into deeper sleep. You calm cortisol so your brain sends the correct signals. You improve circulation so testosterone can move freely through your system. In a single moment, right before sleep, you shift your chemistry from survival mode to restoration mode. And men who do this don't just wake up with more energy, they wake up remembering a version of themselves they thought was gone. This understanding changes everything for older men. Because once you realize testosterone is built at night, not during the day, you can stop blaming your age, your lifestyle, or your limitations. You can begin focusing on the hours that matter most, the quiet hours when your body is finally ready to rebuild you, if you give it the chance. And what's remarkable is that the simple ingredient you add to olive oil doesn't just enhance sleep. It triggers a hormonal chain reaction your body hasn't produced in years. It sends a message deep into your endocrine system that says, it's time to make testosterone again. And that message is so powerful that many men feel the difference after a single night. But olive oil alone isn't enough. To activate its full hormonal potential, you need the ingredient that turns this nighttime ritual into a genuine testosterone-building strategy. And once you learn how that ingredient interacts with your body, you'll understand why men over 60 are seeing such dramatic changes so quickly. Let's uncover that secret next. 4. The ingredient that frees testosterone: raw honey. Most men are stunned when they learn that one of the fastest ways to raise their testosterone isn't found in a prescription bottle, a booster supplement, or some expensive treatment, but in a simple substance that has been sitting in human kitchens for thousands of years. What shocks them even more is that this ingredient doesn't just support testosterone, it frees the testosterone their body has been trying to use but hasn't been able to access for years. And that ingredient is raw, unfiltered honey. Not the processed syrup most men grew up with, but the real, mineral-rich honey that contains one of the most overlooked nutrients for male vitality: boron. Boron is a mineral most people never think about, yet it plays a role so profound it often leaves men speechless once they understand it. Your body has two types of testosterone: total testosterone, which includes everything your body produces, and free testosterone, the portion your muscles, your brain, your heart, and yes, your sexual organs can actually use. Most men over 60 don't have a problem with total testosterone. The problem is that almost all of it is locked away, trapped by proteins in the blood, unavailable to the body that desperately needs it. You might have testosterone inside you right now and still feel tired, soft, unfocused, or unmotivated simply because your body cannot access what it already made. This is where raw honey becomes almost miraculous. Boron disrupts the binding that traps testosterone, increasing the amount of free, usable testosterone circulating through your bloodstream. Studies have shown that boron can raise free testosterone by nearly 30% within a week. For a man over 60, that kind of shift is not just a number. It is a return of mornings that feel fuller. It is a resurgence of desire that felt forgotten. It is clarity replacing fog. It is muscle responding again. It is masculinity warming inside the body in ways that feel both familiar and astonishing. But the emotional impact goes deeper, because when men tell me they feel alive again, they're not talking about energy alone. They're talking about feeling like themselves, feeling present, feeling connected, feeling grounded in their own identity. Honey does not give you something artificial. It gives you access to what has been inside you all along. That realization brings many men to a quiet moment of reflection, sometimes even grief, recognizing how many years they lived with a power they simply couldn't reach. Olive oil transforms how this process works at night. The healthy fats slow down the absorption of honey's natural sugars, keeping insulin stable. This matters because insulin spikes shut testosterone down. When insulin remains steady, your hormones remain open. And as you sleep, the boron carried by the honey begins freeing testosterone bit by bit. Every hour of deep rest becomes a chance for your body to reclaim its hormonal rhythm. Men often describe waking up with a kind of steady strength they haven't felt in decades, strength that doesn't feel forced but familiar, like the return of an old friend. And that is the purpose of this ritual, not to overpower your biology, but to unlock it. Not to shock your system, but to restore the masculinity your body was always designed to produce. When honey and olive oil work together, they become a quiet conversation with your endocrine system, telling it, you are not done, you are not weak, you are not broken, you are ready. Yet honey is only the first of several powerful combinations that can turn olive oil into a nighttime hormone catalyst. Because while honey frees testosterone, there is another ingredient that protects it from one of the most destructive forces men over 60 face every single day, an ingredient that shields your testosterone with surprising potency. And once you discover how it works, you'll understand why so many older men start seeing dramatic changes within just a few nights. Let's reveal that next. 5. The ingredient that protects testosterone: cinnamon. Most men never hear this truth, yet it affects every single one of them after 60. The greatest threat to your testosterone isn't age, low activity, or even declining hormone production. It's your blood sugar. And the shock for most seniors is realizing that every harmless-looking dessert, every evening snack, every small spike in glucose quietly shuts down testosterone production in real time. Not gradually, not eventually, immediately. One rise in insulin, and your hormone engine slams to a halt. For many men, this is the silent sabotage happening night after night without them ever understanding why they wake up depleted, heavier, or less driven than the day before. That is why cinnamon becomes so powerful, especially for older men. Cinnamon is one of nature's most potent tools for stabilizing blood sugar, calming insulin, and restoring metabolic balance. Yet it's not just a spice, it's a protector. It steps in at the exact moment your hormones are most vulnerable. Those evening hours when your blood sugar rises easily and your body becomes more sensitive to disruption. When cinnamon enters your system before bed, something remarkable happens. Your glucose levels flatten. Insulin stops spiking. Your endocrine system shifts out of crisis mode. And for the first time in a long time, your hormonal pathways stay open through the night instead of collapsing under pressure. The emotional impact of this realization is often profound, because men think their lack of motivation, their midday crashes, or their fading desire come from aging, when in reality, these are symptoms of a body that has been wrestling with unstable blood sugar for years. Cinnamon doesn't just correct a number, it restores a rhythm. It brings a sense of steadiness back to a system that has been overstressed, overstimulated, and overworked. And what older men feel when this steadiness returns is not just more testosterone, it's more control over their own body, perhaps for the first time in decades. Paired with olive oil at night, cinnamon becomes even more effective. The healthy fats slow absorption, allowing cinnamon's active compounds to work gently and steadily throughout the night. The two together create a calm internal environment, one that protects your testosterone instead of sabotaging it. Men who try this often describe waking with a surprising clarity, a lighter feeling in their chest, a sense that their energy is not being drained the moment the day begins. Some even say they feel more themselves, a simple phrase that carries far deeper meaning than most people realize. Because this isn't just about testosterone, it's about reclaiming stability in a phase of life when many men feel their bodies shifting beneath them. When your blood sugar stays balanced, your mind stays sharper, your energy lasts longer, your emotions settle, and your body, finally free from the nightly crash and hormonal confusion, begins rebuilding its strength. Cinnamon gives your testosterone a chance to survive the night, and olive oil gives it the foundation to rise again in the morning. But as powerful as cinnamon is, it doesn't address one of the deepest problems men face: the erosion of the testicular cells themselves, the very cells responsible for producing testosterone. Years of inflammation, stress, and poor circulation weaken those cells until they can no longer respond the way they once did. To repair that damage, to reignite production at the source, you need something stronger, something that can reach deeper into the tissues that age has quietly worn down. And that brings us to the next ingredient, one that doesn't just protect testosterone, but restores the machinery that creates it. Let's explore that next. 6. The ingredient that rebuilds the testes: ginger. Most men never imagine that the very cells responsible for making their testosterone could be quietly damaged, weakened, and starving for oxygen. Yet this is exactly what happens to men as they move through their 60s and 70s. The shock comes when I tell them the truth. Your testosterone didn't fall because your body forgot how to produce it. It fell because the tiny testosterone-producing cells inside your testes became worn down by years of stress, inflammation, and poor circulation. These cells aren't dead, they aren't finished, they're simply exhausted. And once you understand that, everything changes. Because exhausted cells can be revived. And one of the most powerful tools for reviving them is something most men have in their kitchen right now: ginger. What makes ginger so extraordinary is not just its long history in ancient medicine, but the way modern science has confirmed what healers knew centuries ago. Ginger doesn't push your body to make testosterone the way artificial boosters do. Instead, it reaches into the core of your system and repairs the damage that has been accumulating for decades. It reduces oxidative stress inside the testes, clearing away the biochemical rust that slows down hormone production. It increases blood flow to these delicate tissues, sending oxygen and nutrients into areas that have quietly been deprived for years. And it stimulates the release of luteinizing hormone, the chemical signal from your brain that tells your testes, "Wake up, it's time to produce again." For many men, learning this feels strangely emotional, because they finally understand that their decline wasn't a failure of willpower or masculinity. Their bodies weren't weak, they were wounded, and wounds can heal. I've seen men who were convinced they were past their prime, who believed they would never feel that inner fire again, suddenly experience mornings filled with clarity, confidence, and a subtle sense of power returning. They describe it as if a dim light deep inside their chest suddenly brightened, not a spark of youth, but a return of strength, quiet and steady. When ginger is combined with olive oil at night, its effects become even more profound. Ginger's active compounds are fat-soluble, meaning they need healthy fats to be absorbed properly. Olive oil acts as a delivery system, carrying ginger into the bloodstream with far greater efficiency. Together, they create a nighttime environment that supports deep hormonal repair. As you sleep, inflammation recedes, circulation improves, and the cells inside your testes begin functioning the way they were designed to. Men often tell me their dreams become more vivid, their mornings feel sharper, and a sense of drive begins resurfacing, sometimes faster than they ever expected. There is something quietly powerful about this process, because it reminds men that the masculine energy they miss isn't gone, it's dormant, waiting for the right conditions to rise again. Ginger doesn't force your body to perform, it helps your body remember. And when a man begins to feel that memory awakening, when he senses strength in places where he had grown used to weakness, it touches something deeper than physical health. It restores dignity. It restores identity. Yet even as ginger works to rebuild the internal machinery of testosterone production, there is still another piece of the puzzle that many older men overlook. Testosterone cannot rise, cannot circulate, cannot nourish your muscles or sharpen your mind unless the very pathways that carry it are strong and open. And those pathways weaken with age just as surely as hormone cells do. To truly restore a man's vitality, you must not only rebuild the engine, you must strengthen the system that delivers its power. And that requires a different kind of ingredient altogether, one that nourishes the mineral engine behind hormonal health. That is where we are headed next. 7. The ingredient that recharges your hormone engine: pumpkin seeds. Most men are shocked when they hear this, but the truth is unavoidable. Your testosterone may not be low because of declining production. It may be low because your body no longer has the minerals required to make it. Not supplements, not exotic herbs, not expensive treatments. Just two simple minerals that slowly drain from your system as you age, leaving your hormone engine sputtering like a car running on fumes. And the moment men discover that this depletion is reversible, a mixture of disbelief and relief washes over them, because it means their decline was never a sentence, it was a deficiency, and deficiencies can be fixed. Pumpkin seeds, small and unassuming as they are, hold two of the most essential minerals for a man over 60, zinc and magnesium. Zinc is the ignition key of testosterone production. Without it, your body cannot complete the chemical steps required to form the hormone. Magnesium, on the other hand, is what converts your testosterone into its usable, free form, the form that fuels your muscles, your brain, your metabolism, and your sexual performance. When either of these minerals is low, your testosterone suffers. When both are depleted, your hormone system grinds to a halt, often without a single warning sign. Many older men don't realize how deeply their zinc and magnesium levels have dropped. Decades of stress, medications, poor sleep, alcohol, and processed foods strip these minerals from the body far faster than they can be replaced. Even men who believe they are eating well are often deficient. The body becomes underpowered, its internal wiring weakened. A man feels it in ways he doesn't always recognize: muscles that don't respond the way they used to, motivation that flickers, brain fog that lingers, emotions that feel dull or heavy. Beneath all of that lies one truth: the hormone engine is starving. When pumpkin seeds enter the picture, the change is almost poetic. These seeds deliver zinc and magnesium in their most natural, bioavailable form. Minerals your body recognizes instantly. They refill the empty tank. They restore the spark. They bring energy back to systems that were once slowing down. But when pumpkin seeds are paired with olive oil at night, something even more powerful occurs. Olive oil, with its fatty acids and polyphenols, enhances the absorption of both minerals, allowing them to reach the bloodstream more efficiently and quickly. It creates an environment where the body can finally use what it has been missing. And the emotional shift men experience is something I have witnessed countless times. They begin waking up with a sense of steadiness, a quiet form of strength they thought had slipped away permanently. They feel more grounded, more focused, more capable. It's not a sudden explosion of energy, but a steady return of vitality, like an engine that has been dormant suddenly turning over smoothly again. One man told me, with tears in his eyes, that he felt switched on for the first time in years. That is what happens when a body reclaims the minerals it was silently begging for. This is why pumpkin seeds are so much more than a snack. They are nourishment for the deepest layers of masculinity. They restore not just testosterone, but the system that supports it. The structure, the wiring, the foundational chemistry that allows hormones to rise, circulate, and take effect throughout the body. And once this foundation is rebuilt, a man often feels changes in areas he never linked to. Testosterone. Clearer thinking, steadier mood, deeper sleep, improved digestion, and renewed physical drive. Yet even as the mineral engine comes back to life, another force continues to threaten your testosterone every single day, something far more destructive than deficiency: inflammation. It attacks your joints, your blood vessels, your brain, and your hormone centers with equal aggression. It steals your energy, clouds your mind, and quietly suppresses your testosterone at its source. And unless this internal fire is brought under control, no amount of minerals, fats, or nutrients will be enough to restore your full vitality. That is why the next ingredient is not just helpful, it is essential. Let's uncover it now. 8. The ingredient that extinguishes hormonal inflammation: turmeric and black pepper. Most men are stunned when they learn that the single greatest force draining their testosterone is not age, not declining strength, and not even low hormone output. It is inflammation, an invisible fire burning quietly inside their body day after day, year after year. This internal fire steals more masculinity than any other factor, yet most men never see it coming. It shows up as stiff joints, foggy thinking, slower movement, heavier emotions, and mornings that feel harder than they should. But the most painful truth is this: inflammation shuts down your testosterone-producing glands long before you ever feel its symptoms. Your hormone engine doesn't fail because you're old. It fails because it has been fighting a fire for decades and finally collapses from exhaustion. That is why turmeric becomes so powerful, especially for men over 60. Turmeric contains curcumin, one of nature's strongest anti-inflammatory compounds, capable of reaching places inside the body that most medications never touch. Curcumin doesn't just reduce pain or stiffness, it calms the inflammation inside your blood vessels, your brain, your digestive tract, and most importantly, your hormone centers. Men often think inflammation is just a physical discomfort, but at its core, it is a biochemical blockade. As long as the fire burns, testosterone cannot rise. As long as the fire burns, the brain cannot send strong hormonal signals. As long as the fire burns, a man feels like a dimmed version of himself. But there's a catch most people never learn. Curcumin is nearly useless without fat. The body cannot absorb it on its own. This is where olive oil turns turmeric from a common spice into a true hormonal healer. When turmeric is mixed with olive oil, the fat binds to curcumin and carries it directly into the bloodstream, allowing it to reach the tissues that need it most. This is why, for so many older men, the combination works even when they have tried turmeric capsules that did nothing. The body doesn't need more turmeric. It needs turmeric delivered correctly. And then there is black pepper, a small ingredient that seems almost insignificant until you understand its power. Black pepper contains piperine, a compound that increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. Without piperine, most curcumin passes through the body unused. With piperine, the floodgates open. Suddenly, the inflammation that has been suffocating your energy, your clarity, and your masculinity begins to cool. Men describe waking up with less tension in their joints, easier breathing, clearer thoughts, and a strange but welcome sensation, like their body is no longer fighting itself. For many seniors, this brings an emotional shift as well. They realize their fatigue wasn't laziness, their forgetfulness wasn't aging. Their lack of desire wasn't personal failure, they were fighting a war inside their body without ever knowing it. And when turmeric, black pepper, and olive oil work together to calm that internal storm, something within them softens too. Their body stops running from pain and begins moving towards strength again. Their hormone centers awaken in ways that feel both subtle and profound. It is not a jolt, it is a return. Yet as powerful as turmeric is at extinguishing hormonal inflammation, there is still one more obstacle standing between many older men and their full testosterone potential: circulation. Without strong blood flow, testosterone cannot reach the muscles, the brain, or the organs that rely on it. Without strong circulation, a man may produce testosterone but never feel its effects. And rebuilding that circulation requires a different ingredient, one that awakens the bloodstream, oxygenates the tissues, and reignites the spark that many men fear they have lost forever. That is the next piece of this puzzle, and once you understand it, the entire picture becomes clearer. Let's move into it now. 9. The ingredient that ignites blood flow: garlic. Most men are stunned when they hear this, but the brutal truth is that you can have perfectly healthy testosterone levels and still feel weak, tired, and sexually disconnected, simply because that testosterone never reaches the places it's supposed to go. Your muscles never receive the signal, your brain never feels the clarity, your heart never feels the strength. And the part of your body responsible for sexual performance never receives enough oxygen or blood to respond the way it once did. The shocking reality is this: without strong circulation, testosterone becomes a trapped resource, present but powerless. And for many men over 60, poor blood flow is the silent thief that has been stealing their masculinity for years without a single warning. This is where garlic steps into the story, not as a kitchen ingredient, but as one of the most powerful natural circulation enhancers known to science. Garlic contains allicin, a compound released only when the clove is crushed, and this compound works like a key that unlocks your arteries. It relaxes the blood vessel walls, widens the pathways, and increases blood flow to every corner of the body. But its effect on masculine health goes far deeper. Healthy blood flow is what delivers testosterone to your muscles, your brain, your heart, and the intimate parts of your body that depend on oxygen-rich blood to function. Without circulation, testosterone cannot activate. With circulation, testosterone becomes electricity coursing through the body. I've spoken with countless men who describe a very specific emotional grief, one they rarely share out loud. They say things like, "I can't perform the way I used to," or "I don't feel that spark anymore," or "My body doesn't respond to me." They assume this means their testosterone is gone, their youth is over, or their masculinity has faded. But often, what has faded is not their hormone level. It's the highway that carries that hormone where it's needed. And when circulation declines, a man begins to feel disconnected from himself. Not just physically, but emotionally. He feels slower. He feels less confident. He feels like a quieter, dimmer version of the man he once was. Garlic begins to reverse this in a way that is both physical and deeply personal. As allicin opens the blood vessels, oxygen flows more freely, nutrients move more efficiently, hormones finally reach the tissues waiting for them. Men often describe the experience as feeling the current again, a phrase I've heard so many times it has become almost poetic. Because that current isn't just about physical strength, it's about aliveness. It's about presence. It's about feeling like your body is part of you again instead of something that has drifted away. When garlic is combined with olive oil at night, its impact becomes even stronger. Olive oil protects the delicate lining of your blood vessels, reducing inflammation and improving the flexibility of your arteries. It acts as a carrier, helping allicin move through the bloodstream with greater efficiency. And as the two ingredients work together during sleep, circulation improves steadily and naturally, without forcing the heart, without overstimulation, without risk. Men often wake feeling lighter in the chest, clearer in the mind, and more aware of a certain internal strength returning. It is subtle at first, but unmistakable. A warmth, a steadiness, a sense that something deep within them is turning back on. And there is something profoundly moving about hearing men describe these changes. They talk about walking upstairs without feeling winded, waking up with more firmness, feeling more present with their partner, thinking more sharply, laughing more easily. These improvements may sound small, but for a man who has felt himself slipping away year after year, they mean everything. They signal a reunion with the person he thought he had lost forever. But even as garlic reignites circulation and reconnects testosterone to the body, there is still one more layer to restoring full male vitality. Because testosterone can be freed, protected, rebuilt, and delivered. But if it is being converted into estrogen too quickly, a man will never feel the full power of his masculinity. And after 60, this conversion becomes one of the most overlooked obstacles men face. To stop this hormonal drain and command your body to produce more testosterone naturally, you need a very different ingredient, one with a history as old as civilization itself. And once you learn what it does, everything about your hormonal transformation will suddenly make sense. Let's reveal it now. 10. The ingredient that commands testosterone production, fenugreek. Most men are stunned when they discover that their body may still be producing testosterone, but losing it to a quiet, invisible thief inside their own chemistry. It's not a thief you can feel. It doesn't cause pain. It doesn't send a warning. It simply slips in as you age and begins converting your hard-earned testosterone into estrogen, rewiring the balance that once defined your strength, your confidence, and your sense of self. And the real shock is this. For many men over 60, this conversion, not low production, is the true reason their masculinity feels like it's fading. Your body isn't failing you. It's being drained by a process you were never told about. This is where fenugreek becomes one of the most powerful allies a man can have. Fenugreek contains compounds called saponins, particularly one known as furostanolic saponin, that directly inhibit the enzyme responsible for turning testosterone into estrogen. When this enzyme is active, a man can produce all the testosterone in the world and still feel weak, tired, foggy, and unmotivated because his hormones are being rerouted in the wrong direction. But when fenugreek enters your system, something remarkable happens. The conversion slows, the hormone theft stops, and for the first time in years, the testosterone your body produces stays yours. What many men describe in the days and weeks after adding fenugreek to their nightly olive oil ritual is not a jolt or a sudden rush. It is a returning. A quiet, steady rebuilding of power that feels familiar, almost like slipping back into an old version of themselves they thought they would never meet again. They wake up with clearer thoughts, steadier breath, a kind of internal brightness they haven't felt in decades. It's not just energy, it's purpose. Not just desire, it's presence. Fenugreek doesn't give you testosterone, it gives you back the testosterone life has been stealing from you. But that's only half of what makes fenugreek extraordinary. While it protects existing testosterone, it also activates luteinizing hormone, the master signal from the brain that commands the testes to produce more testosterone naturally. This is the same hormonal cue your body responded to effortlessly when you were in your 20s and 30s. Over time, stress, inflammation, poor sleep, and emotional strain weaken that signal until it barely whispers. Fenugreek turns that whisper into a strong, clear message. It's time to produce again. It tells your endocrine system that the shutdown is over and the rebuilding can begin. This dual action, protecting what you have and stimulating more of what you need, is why fenugreek is often the missing piece for older men who feel like nothing else has worked. Many tell me they feel emotions they haven't felt in years. The excitement to start the day, the pull toward physical connection, the sense of being alive in their own body. It's emotional because, for so long, men think their fading masculinity is a sign of age or failure, when in reality, their chemistry was simply waiting for the right signal to wake up. When fenugreek is paired with olive oil, its impact deepens. Olive oil improves the absorption of saponins and stabilizes nighttime hormones, allowing fenugreek to work with greater precision while you sleep. The combination protects your testosterone, frees it, circulates it, and stimulates more of it, all during the quiet hours when your body repairs itself. Men often tell me the change feels like a slow sunrise inside them, warming everything from their energy to their confidence to the strength in their hands. But perhaps the most meaningful shift is not physical at all. It is the return of hope. The realization that their decline was not written in stone, that their masculinity was never gone, it was simply suppressed. And when that suppression lifts, something deeper than hormones begins to rise. A sense of self-worth, a sense of capability, a sense of meaning. Yet even with all these ingredients, honey, cinnamon, ginger, pumpkin seeds, turmeric, garlic, and fenugreek, there is still one final truth men must understand before they can experience real transformation. A truth that separates those who change their lives from those who simply collect information. A truth that determines whether all these powerful combinations will work or fade. And to reveal that truth, we now move into the final, most important part of this journey. The conclusion that ties everything together and shows you how these simple nightly rituals can rebuild your strength, your energy, and your masculinity starting tonight. Let's step into that now. 11. Conclusion. Reclaiming your power after 60. When a man reaches 60, the world quietly begins telling him that decline is normal, that fatigue is normal, that losing strength is normal, that shrinking desire, shrinking confidence, shrinking vitality are simply the natural penalties of growing older. But after walking with you through this journey, after showing you each ingredient, each mechanism, each forgotten pathway that your body is still capable of using, I want you to understand something deeper, something far more important than any recipe or ritual. Decline is not your destiny. It never was. The lesson hidden beneath everything we've explored is this. Your body does not age as quickly as your habits do. Your hormones do not dry up because your cells lose the ability to function. They slow down because life pulls you out of rhythm. Stress disrupts your chemistry. Inflammation smothers your signals. Sleep becomes shallow. Blood flow becomes sluggish. Nutrients become scarce. And slowly, quietly, the fire inside you dims, not because you have grown old, but because your system has gone without the fuel it needs to stay alive. Every man deserves to know this truth. You were never broken. You were simply undernourished in the ways that mattered most. What olive oil and these nighttime combinations truly represent is not magic, not shortcuts, not tricks. They are reminders. They remind your body how to function, how to build, how to circulate, how to restore, how to rise. They reopen pathways you thought were permanently closed. They reignite processes you assumed had died with age. They awaken the chemistry of a younger man inside the frame of an older one. And if there is any lesson I want you to carry with you long after this video ends, it is that your body has been waiting for you far more patiently than you ever realized. For decades, you may have blamed yourself for the changes you felt. You may have believed your lack of energy meant you weren't disciplined enough. You may have thought your fading desire meant you were losing your masculinity. You may have assumed your softening strength meant your time had passed, but what you were feeling was not failure, it was imbalance. It was your body signaling that it needed help, guidance, and nourishment in a form most men were never taught to give themselves. The real tragedy is not that testosterone falls, it's that men fall silent. They accept things they should never accept. They surrender parts of themselves that can still be reclaimed. So the true message of this entire journey is simple. Your body has not given up on you. Deep inside, your hormone centers still listen. Your cells still respond. Your blood still wants to move freely. Your brain still sends signals asking for more strength, more vitality, more life. And when you provide the right ingredients, when you give your body the fats, the minerals, the anti-inflammatory compounds, the circulation boosters, the hormonal protectors, it responds quickly. Sometimes shockingly quickly. Not because you forced it, but because you finally supported it. Every man reaches a moment in his later years when he must decide what kind of future he wants. a future defined by slow decline, or a future defined by intentional rebuilding, a future shaped by surrender, or one shaped by rediscovery. These nighttime rituals with olive oil are not just health practices, they are declarations. They say, I am not done. They say, my best years are not behind me. They say, I choose to rebuild myself even now. And that choice is far more powerful than any individual ingredient. And here is the deeper truth behind all of it. Testosterone is not merely a hormone. It is your drive, your steadiness, your capacity to face the world with purpose. It is the voice inside you that says, I still have something to offer. When testosterone rises, men don't just feel stronger. They feel clearer, more grounded, more present. They move through the world with a sense of identity that aging tried to blur but could not erase. And when you restore that identity, you restore far more than energy or performance. You restore the foundation of who you are. So as we close this journey together, I want you to look at the simplest truth of all. Healing begins with one decision, one night, one tablespoon, one moment when you say, I will not let this be the end of my story. And once that decision is made, the rest is simply consistency. Small, nightly actions that accumulate into something extraordinary. Your body is waiting. Your strength is waiting. Your clarity is waiting. Your fire is waiting. Now the question becomes, will you answer it? Because in the next chapter of your life, your testosterone does not have to fall. Your vitality does not have to fade. Your masculinity does not have to diminish. Everything you thought was gone is still within reach, ready to rise the moment you choose to rise with it. And that is where your transformation truly begins. Before you go, I want to speak to you heart to heart. If this video gave you clarity, hope, or even just a moment of strength you didn't expect today, I ask you to take one small step to help this message reach other men who need it just as much as you did. Hit the like button so YouTube knows this content matters. Share it with a friend, a brother, or anyone you care about who may be struggling in silence. And leave a comment below. Tell me your age, your experience, your challenges. Your words might be the reason another man realizes he's not alone. If you want to support the channel and help me continue creating real science-based guidance for men over 60, consider leaving a small donation. Every contribution, no matter the size, helps keep this work alive and allows me to reach thousands more who are searching for answers. Your engagement is not just support, it's how we build a community of stronger, healthier, more empowered men. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking control of your health, and thank you for helping others do the same.